Well, hello, Jaguars, and welcome to Your Future Pathway, part of the Hired series. My name is Gabe Barrientos, and I'm a career advisor in the Mays Center. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I work mostly with students whose majors fall within the College of Arts and Sciences. So, if your major falls within there, I'd be happy to meet with you and talk further with you about your career path, graduate school options, and other things you may need in order to succeed. But today, I'll be talking about your future pathways, so let's get started. So what are we covering today? So today we'll look at a job description together, give you an activity, who would you choose for the job, the resume and its components, and then you'll have a chance to reflect on your own resume, your dream job, and how can you get there. So let's start off with an activity. In front of you, you should have multiple handouts. The first one should be a student worker job description. On the job description, you'll see the different components of the job. What are some basic tasks that will be asked for this position, as well as the qualifications. Another handout you should have should be 4 resumes in one document. So those resumes include Betty, Hattie, Raymond, and Jose. So what I would like for you to do, after hitting pause in just a second, I want you to review the resumes. Look at Patty, look at Raymond, look at Jose, and look at Betty. First, I want you to find any errors in their resumes. Then look at the format. Is it something that you feel like you can easily read? Is it something that you can quickly spot out where they went to school, what kind of job experience they may have, what kind of education they have, goals, objectives, things of that nature. And then I want you to narrow it down. If you had to pick one person to give the job to based on the resume, who would you give it to and why? So I would like for you to hit pause, and then we'll continue momentarily. Okay, hopefully you had a few minutes to look over, and just a couple comments I will make on each resume. So looking at Betty's resume, one of the things kind of at the top, if you notice the email, so she went with prettybetty@gmail.com. Typically, we recommend that students use a more professional email, which can be maybe the person's name. So first name dot last name at gmail.com, or maybe a first initial last name at yahoo.com. So something a little bit more professional, because you don't want to give a wrong impression to an employer, graduate school admissions officer, recruiter who might be reviewing. You want to leave a good impression. So the first impression is typically through a resume and through other paperwork. Also on Betty's resume, if you can look under work experience, under cashier, November. So Novemer. Always make sure to double check for spelling, for grammar, spelling, to make sure everything is correctly spelled and everything's punctuated. So it's always good to have somebody else review it, just because, and there's another set of eyes can always spot things that you may not be able to spot, since you're the person who might create the document itself. Also, one other quick thing, under education, SAC. So since we're in the San Antonio area, typically that means San Antonio College. In this case, I recommend that you always spell out pretty much everything. That includes institutions. So you should put San Antonio College out there. And then finally, you can see right on the same section, the second bullet point, there's nothing there with it. So you'll see the first bullet point says composition 1 and 2, and then the next bullet point has nothing. So always make sure to, like I said, double check things, have somebody else review it. It never hurts. Like I said, just going through a couple of things. So we'll look at Betty's next. So Betty Hattie. Hattie did a great job overall. One thing on hers, I always recommend that you spell out street. So this could be street instead of abbreviation ST. In this case, boulevard, so BLVD. Always recommend spelling those out. Again, abbreviations should be limited to just states and GPA if you do put GPA on your resume. But you can see pretty organized, did a good job. The only thing I see, one of the things that pops out on Patty's is periods at the end of each bullet. So since they are not complete sentences, there's no periods. But overall, it looks better than Betty's did. So let's move on to Raymond really quick. Raymond, I feel like, in my opinion, Raymond could have elaborated more on his experience. So, but let's work at the top. So, a pledge. Typically, we save that for, instead of a pledge, we recommend either an objective, if you're going to go with an objective statement, or summary qualifications. Typically 2, 3, maybe even 4 bullet points are the things that highlight you. So if you have some years of experience in an area, certain skills that you want to highlight, especially if it pertains to a particular job that you might be applying for. So pledge, I would kind of move away, especially this pledge. So to work hard for your company, provide customer care. You could use some of this wordage into more of like a summary of qualifications. Education is an education section, just at high school, college, current full-time students. So you want to organize this a little bit better, especially because you have high school kind of in the first line, but then on college, it's at the very bottom line. His experience, you look under target, just job duties consisted of money handling. I want you to expand on that a little bit more. So typically we recommend 3 to 5 bullet points, especially if you have money handling experience. So what kind of financial experience that you have? Customer service, what did that look like? How many people did you serve? What capacity did you serve people? Think about those things as you're thinking about your bullets and job description. Same thing with the final position at Walgreens. So, they're great positions, definitely room to elaborate and to expand. And finally, Jose. Jose also did a pretty good job, but we want you to expand a little bit more. So the objective statement, so you can kind of see what an objective statement would look like: seeking a position, provide excellent customer service, relevant coursework. Depending on position, and if you feel that you want or need to include that, definitely, that's totally okay. Just make sure that it pertains to the job and that you're expanding or elaborating what that course may have done for you and what it can do for your experience. The main thing I want to point out on Jose's is on his job history. So server, 1 bullet point. So we want to know a little bit more what you did there. And then computer skills, and then language. So any kind of skills that you have, definitely highlight those. You can also move some of them up to in summary qualifications, especially if it's a job that's in a field that may be seeking somebody who can speak multiple languages, for example, or utilize any maybe IT software, as in you can see in Jose's resume. So just a question for you: who do you think has the best resume? So the main thing I always tell students, and I'll expand on this too, is you want to make sure it's a resume that you can easily navigate. So I can easily see, okay, where you went to school, what kind of experience that you have. So let's go ahead and move on. So why use a resume? So we use resumes to, as I mentioned, to be that first point of contact, typically when you are applying for job or graduate school. So let's grab the attention of the employers and recruiters. You're trying to sell your strongest skills, those accomplishments that you have. You want to let them know that, hey, I'm a potential match for your program, or I am the best fit for this job. So you're communicating who you are, your capabilities, your potential, and of course, taking that next step in your career. But ultimately, it's to get that interview. In the job process, graduate school process, some of them do also consist of interviews. You want to meet them face to face, let them know who you are. So, the two most common types of resumes are the chronological resume as well as the functional resume. Most people use the chronological resume. So if you get your next handout, which is the resume essentials handout, this one will showcase the two that I'm describing to you. So on the resume essential handout, you can see on page 1 just some tips, some things you need to know. What kind of font you need to use, how big, your header, things that we recommend from the Mace Center, especially in the career services area. So the chronological resume that appear on the resume essentials handout, that's the following page. So on page 2. So what is the chronological resume look like? So you're presenting your experience from your newest or current experience, and you're working way backwards chronologically. It's the most commonly used type of resume, and it's the best option for most applicants. And I'll explain on that in just a minute. So on the resume essential handout, on page 2, you can see the example is Jessica Martinez. So her contact information is up top, followed by a summary of qualifications. She's highlighting those experiences. She goes into her education section next. You can see that, where she's going to school, her degree. She's involved in any kind of honor societies or dean's list, relevant coursework. So maybe something that she wants to highlight, let the employer know that, hey, I am taking this class. This is my experience. And then you can go into more of work experience type. So Enterprise Rent-A-Car, she worked at her position there, some description of what she does or what she's accomplished there. And prior to that, she worked at Starbucks. You can see the bullets under there. And then finally, extracurricular activities. So we always encourage students, if you have anything kind of involvement, anything that you want to highlight, let them know, especially if it's kind of leadership positions, have an officer position, or you're very active, or you've taken this type of role. Highlight that. It always helps you. So you can see another example on page 3. But then let's shift over to the functional resume. So the functional resume, you're presenting your skills and abilities over a chronological history. It looks a little bit different, but it conveys the same information in a way, because you're highlighting by skill and by ability. So if you look at, let's take a look at page 4, for example. So page 4 is a functional resume. So in this example, we have Mark Johnson. Mark, of course, you can see his contact information, followed by summary qualifications. But then you can see in experience, it looks a little bit different. I'm not looking by job position, but I'm looking by skill and ability. So his management and administration skills. Then he's giving me bullet points there. Training and development. What kind of skills, abilities does he have there? What does he accomplish there? Followed by communication and counseling. So it looks a little bit different. Bullets that may typically be under a job position in a chronological example are just shifted over by function, by skill, by ability in the functional type resume. And then you can see the education follows, where he went to school, which pretty much looks the same as either or. And then if there is any employment history, it's just briefly listed below. So you don't have to go into details because those bullet points are already up in the experience section up above. So you can see the two types right there. There are differences, but they convey the same message. You can see the most common type, which is chronological, and then the functional type. And I always tell students, students who may have taken some time off to either return to school or have a slight gap, or maybe they're switching careers, switching career paths, moving from one field to another. A functional resume is very good, very helpful in that case. So, regardless of the type, there are definitely things you need to include. So, first, your contact information, your name, email. How can they contact you? Because you want them to come to you if they have any questions. If you want the job, you need to let them know who you are and how they can contact you. One thing that's become more and more popular now is, of course, including that LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is definitely more and more people are applying through LinkedIn, but also more and more recruiters are also looking at LinkedIn as well. If you haven't taken the digital legacy hired session, I encourage you to do that, and you can learn more about LinkedIn itself in that session. But if you do include your LinkedIn, I encourage you to make sure that your profile is up to date. Picture, all of your experience, education. Make sure it's up to date, because if you list it there and it's not a complete profile, that might leave an impression on a recruiter or an employer. So make sure to have that complete if you are going to list it. Your education. Where are you going to school at? For those who may be here at A&M with us, make sure you list us, of course. If you attended another institution, especially if you got a degree there, do that. High school, we always tell students, typically if you're within your first year with us, so first year, freshman, it's okay to leave your high school listed. But as you continue to move on, so second, third, fourth year, you want to go ahead and move your high school off. High school and anything related to high school, because the hope is that you become more involved with us, that you switch over, become a leader within a student organization, be more involved in the community. Experience. So if you have any experience, this could be job experience, internship, volunteer experience. You want to make sure that you're showcasing that. Show them who you are. That's the only way that you're going to learn more about you, is you got to show them who you are and what kind of experience you do have. Qualifications. So summary qualifications. If you have, certain computer experience, software experience, customer service experience, showcase that. Let them know. Related coursework, especially if it's something that maybe an internship and you're taking a class that could help you and could benefit you getting into that internship. Let them know it's related coursework. List the class, maybe a quick description of the class. Never hurts. Honors and awards. We typically, in the education section, we reserve those for anything that's education related. So this could be honor societies. This could be dean's list, president's list, anything that's GPA related, typically in the education section. Any other honors or awards that you want to showcase, we encourage you to make a news award section, or if you want to tag it into a certain job, you can do that as well. I know one of the examples earlier, I believe that we showcased that somebody got employee of the month. You can tag that along as well. Memberships, professional association memberships, student organization memberships, let them know. Volunteer, I know we touched on that. But if somebody's investing in you, they want to see that you're investing in community. So if you are involved in, whether it is Habitat for Humanity, volunteering with another organization, that shows great things. Publications and presentations. This is a big one, especially for those who are interested in graduate school. If you have this already, you're miles ahead. This looks wonderful. So make sure to make sure you list it correctly. So follow the format. So if you're following APA format, make sure that the names of the people in presentation. If it's a group, where did you present at, when? If you had a professor that you worked with, make sure to acknowledge that. Do it correctly. Technical skills and transferable skills. These skills, these will help you tremendously. So technical, those software, IT, computer skills that can help you, and those transferable skills. Those are the skills that we tell people. Those people skills, those soft skills that can be used anywhere. So if you have a desire to work in a certain field, but you don't have the experience, think about the experiences that you do have. Maybe you worked at a fast-paced environment, and you're like, well, I've done multitasking, customer service. Those are wonderful skills, and that can be definitely used in anything that you're applying to. So think about that. Some friendly reminders. In most cases, keep your resume to one page. We know more and more students are becoming more involved. So if it's relevant and if it's going to benefit you, that's fine. If it goes a little over page, that's okay. But the student should not have a 4 or 5 page resume. Think about the things that are relevant and make sure that things are within a certain time frame. Use a font that is easy to read. We're talking about, typically Times New Roman, Calibri, fonts that are just pretty standard. Anything that's cursive, kind of scribbly looking, I know Crayola font, any other fonts, please try to avoid those. Begin your bullets with action verbs. This is key in either type of resume. So we're talking the chronological or the functional. I want to make sure students know that you want to lead with a verb. So if you prepared, if you researched, if you assist, you want to lead with the verb. Don't use periods on bullets. As I mentioned earlier, since they're not complete sentences, since you're leading with a verb, you don't need to put a period at the end. Use past tense for past experiences. So maybe you had a job last year and you're no longer there. You want to make sure that you use past tense. So if you assisted, so ed, a lot of those ed type verbs will be used for past tense. So make sure to double check those. And if you're currently in a position, of course, leave it in present tense. Spell out everything. Everything should be spelled out. States and GPA are kind of the exception to the rule. So, especially key. If it's a certain field, people are pretty well aware, but you don't want to assume. So if there's a certain acronym, make sure to spell it out. And customize your resume for the job. You want to make sure if you're applying for a job in, for example, criminology, you want to make sure that you have everything, all the experiences that are relevant to criminology type job versus if you're looking for a biology position, maybe a biology research position. Well, you want to highlight your research. You want to highlight any work you've done in the field of biology. You don't want to present a criminology type resume to a biology position. You want to make sure that you highlight those experiences that you have, any research, any externships, internships, anything of that nature will definitely help you out. So a few do nots. So do not list your experience in a paragraph format. Typically, recruiters in the first go around spend 7 to 10 seconds on your resume. So if you have a big chunk of text there, it's not going to get viewed at favorably compared to somebody who has in bulleted form, looking for keywords, who spent time, making it easy to read. Do not lie. So it's one thing to say you maybe train a lot of people, but if you train 10 people, okay, that's one thing. But if you're like, oh, I trained over 50 people, well, the expectations may be different if they think that you've trained 50 people compared to 5 to 10. Start bullets with I are responsible for. As mentioned, you want to start with a verb. You want to tell them that you created, that you assisted. If you said, I did this, it's going to look more of that paragraph type format. So stick with the verb. Go back more than 10 to 15 years in most cases. So you want to stay within roughly about a 10-year frame. I know there, like I said, in most cases, especially somebody who maybe took some time off to go back to school. But if it's relevant to the field, yes, you can highlight it. So if you have questions on that, definitely contact a career advisor and the May Center, and we can definitely help you with that. List personal information. So social security number, birth date, marital status, include any photos, ethnicity. Typically, this information is reserved for the application itself. The resume, just leave your name, contact information, so email. If you want to list your address, you may. LinkedIn profile, that's about it. The private information, as mentioned, that typically stays on the application itself. There's no need to put it on the resume. So, where do you want to go? What do you need to do? As we come to the last slide, what I want you to do first is to look at the other handouts. So what you'll see is one more handout, which is the resume rubric. And on this handout, what I want you to do is to go back and look at your resume. We provided a rubric to kind of give you a good standard of what a good resume looks like, an excellent resume, a fair resume, and a poor resume. So for example, let's look at style and appearance. So for 1 point, you'll receive 1 point if your style is unreadable. So as I mentioned, if it's cursive font or something you can't, that's 1 point. But if you if you have less than 2 formatting errors, then you receive 2 points. If your margins are acceptable, and if you have relevant information, then you receive 4. So you want to stay within the 4 column. So look at the 4 column, kind of see what we as the career services decided would be a good standard of resume. So this time, what I want you to do, you can briefly push pause, but look over your resume. Take out your resume, look over, okay, look at the style and appearance, look at the grammar, look at spelling, look at punctuation, look at your contact information, look at your education section, your experience, and then of course skills and involvement. Is it a resume that I can easily navigate? Is it something that I feel comfortable passing on to a career advisor to review? Do I feel proud that, okay, I am comfortable that I can send this over to a recruiter and I'm not worried? It's an easy to read resume. So what's next for you? So take a moment. Where do you want to go? What's the next step for you? Is it graduate school? Where do you want to go into the working field? What do you need to do now? So looking at resumes and looking at job descriptions, do you need to take a certain class? Do you need to get a certain degree? Do you need to get experience? Do you need to take an externship, get an internship? What do you need to do next to help you get to that next step and eventually meet your career goal? So at this point, this is the end of the presentation. What you should do now, in order for us, the career service team, to review your resume, please make sure to send in your resume. We will review your resume and then send it back to you with our suggestions, edits, and help you get it to the best shape and be the best resume that you're happy with and that you're content with. So we thank you for your time, and from here, I wish you the best, and feel free to make an appointment with us on Handshake to discuss your career path, career options, graduate school. We're here to help you, and we want to wish you the best, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Thank you.